Tonight. You take an animal for zivchei shlomi, meaning you have an animal which is supposed to be you have Ma'aser Sheni money, and you bring it to Yerushalmi, so they have to buy food with it. So the truth is, it's preferable, and the Gemara might even say it's imperative that you buy shlomi with the Ma'aser Sheni money. It's supposed to buy not regular meat, not burger buddies, but although the truth is burger buddies might be okay, but they have to be kachim burger buddies, right? You have to be made from shlomi.
Not for
Back on tape. Person takes an animal for shlomi, which is okay, and chaya l'basar taiva. You're allowed to buy a chaya. Chaya is, of course, a deer or anything else which is not suitable to be a korban. In both these cases, the hide becomes chulin. In other words, the leftover hide from the animal, that becomes chulin, and anybody's allowed to use the hide in any way, shape, or form. Let's say you take a lousy, skimpy animal for the shlomim, but it has a nice big hide. That's okay. You're allowed to do that, even though that's obviously a ruse, a legal loophole. That's okay. Similarly, if you buy barrels of wine which are closed, it's a place where they sell closed barrels of wine. And after you finish the barrel of wine, the wine inside the barrel, then the barrel itself becomes chulin, becomes regular everyday usage. If you buy nuts of various different types or almonds, then the shells become chulin, right? Hatemet shlohich mitz. We just had this. Hatemet shlohich mitz. Temet is where you pour water over the grape seeds. So before, you poured water over the grape seeds, the dregs, and it did not ferment, and because the mites is considered to be water, you can't buy with meiser money. Mashiach mitz, once it has fermented, nilkach mikes of meiser can be bought with meiser money, because then it's considered to be a fruit. And we're going to discuss who holds of that opinion. What if you did something improper, meaning you bought a deer with the intent of making it a shlamim, which of course is impossible, or behemel basar taifa, you bought an animal, a regular animal, a sheep or a cow, but with the intent of eating it. Basar taifa literally means meat of desire. It means not as a korban, rather as just a steak outside the Beis Hamikdash. Lo yatzar l'chum, we fine you. We say, since you did something improper, so therefore we say, the hide of the animal does not become chulin. Rather, whatever value the hide has, you must consume a like amount of food in as if it's Ma'aser Sheni. Similarly, kadeyayin psuchos osasumos. If you have open barrels of wine, or even closed barrel wines, in places where they sell open barrels, meaning that the barrel is not included in the purchase price, you can buy the wine without the barrel. So the worth of the value of the container does not become chulin, and you have to eat food corresponding to the value of that container with the kedusha of Ma'aser Sheni. Sali te'enim, baskets of figs, visali anavim, baskets of grapes. Ima keli, if you bought them with a vessel, the vessel is not integral for the component of the sale. Lo yatzud mea keli l'chulin. So in these cases also, the price of the vessel does not become chulin. You have to eat something comparable value to the price of the value of the vessel, as if it is Ma'aser Sheni. Okay? So far so good? Let's go weiter. Ben Bagbag Goimer. Bagbag says, I don't have him very often, do we? What? We have an Aminef, so he is? I've been Bagbag Goimer. You can pay money in Yerushalmi with Ma'aser Sheni money for all your soul desires. For this we learn, a person could buy a cow because he wants to have the hide, right? Again, even if there's much more hide than there is flesh, that's okay. You can buy a sheep even if it has lousy meat because it has ample shearings. And you can buy wine even if there's not very much, if it has ample containers in a place where containers are integral to the sale. Rabbi Zira said, Hada the tema, this you could say when the seller is a common person. But if the seller is a craftsman, now if I'm not mistaken, craftsman means here he's a craftsman of barrels. So the barrel has significance in and of itself, right? So in that case, he's really charging extra for the barrel. So in that case, that it's as if he's selling each thing independently. He's selling the wine by itself and the barrel by itself, and therefore that's no good. Meaning in that case, since you paid separately, so to speak, for the barrel, whatever value the barrel has, you have to now take and eat as Ma'aser Sheni. Okay, just a SAT check here. What is the craftsman makes a barrel called?
Barrel? I can't remember.
What?
Cracker barrel. No, there's a special name for the guy. No.
You guys,
I forgot.
I think it's a Cooper.
Cooper's correct.
Okay? Yes. All right. People got to get educated. Says Gemara. Rabbi Zira said, Masnisa Amrakain. Our Mishnah tells us this. Kade yain susumos. Barrels of wine which are closed. Mokum shadar kalim kor stumos. In a place where the derech is to sell clothes. Yota kan l'chulin. There the vessel goes out to chulin. So we see that we always look at the derech, how the normal sale occurs. So if the guy is a craftsman of barrels, he's a cooper. So obviously in that case the barrel is distinct, and therefore you're paying extra for the barrel. That's not proper. Alright, but Ramona said, we know from this week to arrive, you go nowadays to the store, so sometimes, I haven't seen it in a long time, but it used to be that there are times and special deals when you get a commodity in a special ornamental container, right? So normally the containers is normally 99% of the time all modern food comes in containers. I mean, then you could actually buy food without containers, but now all food comes in containers. But now if you buy a carton of fruit juice, right, or the carton is not distinct from the price of the commodity, right? So that would be the case in Mishnah where you can then use the carton for chulin, right? After you finish with juice in it or whatever you're eating. However, in a case where there's a special ornamental carton or a special nice type of glass jar. What?
Like you potato chip, these big tins with bowls all over.
Big tins with what?
They have Chicago bowls all over.
Oh, they have Chicago bowls, so they're collector's items. Right, so in that case, if you bought those potato chips with the Chicago Bulls container for Ma'aser Sheni money, first of all, it's probably muktzah machmas mius. But besides that, you have a problem in that afterwards, whatever value the container has, you actually have to correspond a like value in some other food commodity of Ma'aser Sheni.
Donuts, coffee, mug.
Oh, that's right. Coffee.
Yeah, if you buy a mug together, right, to the coffee, same idea, right.
So can you're using the mug over and over again for refills, but the price included the mug?
No, that's no good. Because you can buy, right? You're not allowed to buy that mug with the coffee with Ma'aser Sheni money. And were you to have done so whatever additional value the mug was worth over the coffee, right? Even though a paper cup also cost them something, but that's considered the part and parcel of the trade. But the mug is so significant as thing cost, so therefore you have to eat Ma'aser Sheni, take additional food corresponding, right? Yeah. Okay. So we have the idea. So says more. Our mother said, "Umidaf," and this to derive. Just like you said over there, if the craftsman was, if the seller was a craftsman, is if you sold each one independently. The kava saw similarly. If the buyer was a craftsman, then as if each one was bought independently as well, and he has to take the value of the barrel or whatever else he's acquiring and use that to buy Ma'aser Sheni, to some commodity to serve as Ma'aser Sheni. Okay, Choser Shel Tamorim. If you have these are various different packagings used for dates. Choser Shel Tamorim is like a diaper, some sort of wrapper. Patuya Shel Tamorim is a similar idea. Yatsu Chulin, they're integral to the sale, and therefore they go out to Chulin. However, Kupo Shel Tamorim, which is yet a different type of container, is tani. We have a bright, so it says Yatsu, they do become Chulin. These tani, there are brights who would say lo yatsu chulin, they don't become chulin. Rav Chizda said mandar yatsu, the brights which says that they go out l'chulin. That's talking about when drusos. It's talking about when the dates are all pressed, and therefore they need the container to hold them together. Umandar lo yatsu, when it says that they don't go out l'chulin, that's talking about she'ena drusos, when they were not pressed together. So then the container is not necessary, and therefore the container is only a tack on, and that's why you have to eat fruit corresponding to the value of the container as Ma'aser Sheni. Okay? So it says more further. Getting back to our Mishnah, Hatemed. This temed meaning the water poured over the grape dregs. Actually, before it's fermented, nikach because of Ma'aser. It can't be bought as with Ma'aser money. Or person could make some mikvah unfit. Nishich means once it becomes fermented, nikach because of Ma'aser, and a person mikvah could be bought with Ma'aser money. It doesn't render the mikvah unfit.
We're talking about where the mikvah is less than 40 so.
Mikvah is less than 40 so, right? That was never yet kosher. Mastisar to Rabbi Yehuda. Our Mr. Rabbi Yehuda. It seems like we learned at the end of Ma'aser, so a few days ago. Ta'amon. Over there, if you were making temed and you put water in based on a certain measure, and you found the same midah came up which went down, right? There was no additional volume due to the grapes. So it's potter from Trumas Ma'aser just because it's still the same you put in. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it became something else now. It took on the nature of the grapes, and therefore you have to take Ma'aser off on this temed water as well. Rav said, Zim normal Rabbi Rabbi Lazar, Sunday said, Rabbi Lazar, normal Rabbi Yossi Baruch Hanino. Sundays made the same name, Rabbi Yossi Hanino, that's only if it became fermented. Right? If it became fermented, we say that the fermentation gives it the status as if it is now a bona fide wine. Rabbi Yossi said, so the Chor over here also, our Mishnah which says you can buy with Ma'aser Sheni money temed only when like Rabbi Yehuda when it fermented, because like Rabbanan actually has to have additional volume in order to be considered bona fide temed. So no, Rabbi Yosef said Divrei Koli. This is going to everybody. You should know Shekena Afilu made Melech Nikachim because of Ma'aser. Even by salt water with Ma'aser Sheni money. It's a food stuff. It doesn't have to be a fruit. But in order to be Chayim and Truvas Ma'aser, it has to be a fruit. In order to be bought with Ma'aser Sheni, it doesn't have to be a fruit. Right? It can be salt water. So we said a couple of days ago, you take salt water for Erev Tchumen, right? Because it's a food stuff. So therefore, we say over here, this scheme is going to Rabbanan. Rabbanan can also temed is a food stuff, even if it's not actually fermented. Okay.
Into the mandamar about temed being potter from Trumas Ma'aser. What would he say about a nazir? Would he be able to drink that water, that temed water? Because it's not.
He probably would be I'm sure it'd be the Raisa. The Rabbanan, I don't know. The Rabbanan would probably be also. But the Raisa would be mutter. That's what he would say. Yeah, that's partial. I assume that's partial. I don't remember. I'm sure it says in Sechta Nasser, but I don't remember offhand any differently than that. I'm Rabbi Yossi. I'm Rabbi Lazar, sorry. Rabbi Elazar says lo kona meiser. Now he holds that if you buy, if you buy meat for meiser with Ma'aser Sheni money, and it's not intended for shlomi, it's not a valid transaction. Period. Doesn't become. The acquisition is not a valid acquisition. Again, he was Ma'aser Sheni money Yerushalayim to buy regular meat from a butcher store, not to be a korban. Doesn't work. I said from a butcher store. I want to retract that. You take a cow, not shechted meat. That might be something else. You buy a cow, not in order to make it shlamim. It doesn't work. Okay. Rabbi Yosef said, "Kamesa." Originally, have in mind, we used to say, that somebody buys an animal with Ma'aser Sheni money for the purpose of eating it outside the Beis HaMikdash, just as using it literally as the meat of desire. Al karcho, regardless of what his intent was, nitfas Hashem l'shlomi. It becomes a shlomi on its own. In other words, you thought you were buying a regular animal. What does it become when you bought it with Ma'aser Sheni money automatically? Shlomi, right? Tough on you. Joke's on you, right?
So if you eat it outside the Beis HaMikdash and you have koreks, that would be shchitas chutz, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, we compel you to bring the Beis HaMikdash, right? Therefore, we would notify you. Joke's on you. Now it's a shlomi. You're right. And if you eat it outside, it'd be chayiv. The law of inamin klum. We didn't say anything. We didn't extrapolate. Didn't know. Word aware of min hadadam Rabbi Elazar lo kona meiser. That which Rabbi Elazar said that doesn't acquire altogether. But they originally thought it becomes shlomim automatically, not that the transaction doesn't go through. Now they learned that which Rabbi Elazar said that the transaction doesn't go through altogether.
I thought there was like a basic principle of korbanos.
Yeah. Where did you get that idea?
I don't know.
That's Pesach.
No, but he said you can never start
It's only korban Pesach.
Only Korban Pesach. Pesach eino nechal el nuya ve'eino nechal el tzli ve'eino nechal chatzos eizim mekomon. Only Pesach. Yep. Sorry. Okay. So says what?
What do you think about pico?
You guys are hung up on people. I'm not hung up on people. It must be the sound of the word or
So
something.
it's the end. It was the end of the last few
The last 3 or 4 years.
Well, okay.
We said it would go against.
Loving and Amin Klu Mina Dadam Rabbi Elazar lo kona meiser. We didn't know from this. Rabbi Yossi b'Shem Yochanan says Behemoth Ma'aser Sheni b'Yerushalayim. Another issue. So basically, right now we have a machlokas. Essentially, it's not clear exactly whether anybody concedes the point to each other here. When you acquire a regular animal without the intent to make a korban with Ma'aser Sheni money, does the transaction just fall through, or does it automatically become shlomi? For our Mishnah, it doesn't seem either way. For our Mishnah, it sounds like the transaction goes through, because our Mishnah said that there is a concept of buying an animal, a basar taiva in Yerushalayim. So really, there's yet a third possibility. Okay? And let's talk about this now a little bit further. Rabbi Yossi b'Shem Rabbi Yochanan said, "Behemoth Ma'aser Sheni, an animal Ma'aser Sheni b'Yerushalayim, ki Rabbi Meir petur min ha'bechora." According to Meir, it's exempt from the bechor. Why is that? Because Rabbi Meir says, although it's not brought down here, the word Rabbi Meir holds that Ma'aser Sheni money is mamon gavoah. You can't be mekadesh nisha with it. It's not yours. Okay? So if you bought an animal with Ma'aser Sheni money, so now it has a quasi-holiness, and therefore its son, it's exempt from bechor. If it's a female, its son is exempt from bechor. Rabbi Yehuda holds that Ma'aser Sheni is momon hediot. It belongs to the individual himself. So therefore, if you bought an animal with it, that animal is a regular animal. It's not has no kedusha of any sort to it. And chavis b'chor, you have to give its firstborn as a b'chor to a kohen. Rabbi Yirmiyah called boy kumi. What do you mean?
In other words, how does it fit in to this whole notion
Is it? It's in to a certain extent. It's his property.
Yeah.
Part of it's offered on his bail, so to a certain extent. It's
right. It's both.
If the husband's died,
It's a hybrid, sure. We're going to get into that in greater detail now. Rabbi Yirmiyah boy including Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked for Rabbi Zira. Yoda Bechor.
the actual daughter,
Where's the special officer married?
they get provided for from the Chasim Mishikor.
It is in Psachim, I remember that. Because it talks about their matzah of Ma'aser Sheni. So Machlokas are Meir and Rabbi Yehuda if you Yotzei. Because it has to be belong to you, and Rabbi Meir holds you not because it's Mama Gavoa, and Rabbi Yehuda holds you are. It's around Daflam and something. And it's Sukkah also by Esrog. Esrog of Ma'aser Sheni. The same Machlokas are Meir and Rabbi Yehuda is brought down, which is in the third parak of Lulav Arava. Where exactly I can't pinpoint for you offhand, but it's brought down in those couple of places. Okay? Rabbi Yirmiyah boy calling Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Yirmiyah asked for Rabbi Zira. Yoda Bechor. If it's interesting, so Shas doesn't seem to bring down where it is here. I don't think he brings down either. Rabbi Yirmiyah boy calling Rabbi Zira. Yoda Bechor. This animal which you took with you bought Ma'aser Sheni money, now it gave birth. It's a female. Gave birth to a bechor. Imura Maushi Karbel Gabi Misbeach. That's an amazing question. The imurim of this animal, this bechor, assuming that it is a vow bechor, right? Like Rabbi Yehuda, it's a vow bechor. This is really going like our Mishnah. I didn't clarify this. It's really going like our Mishnah that with Ma'aser Sheni money you can buy regular meat, right? So we have three. I told you we have three opinions. That whatever you buy automatically that the deal is null and void. And our Mishnah says you can buy regular meat. So now you bought regular meat with your Ma'aser Sheni money. Now this animal is a bechor. Can you sacrifice it as a bechor? Now you might ask, of course you have to sacrifice as a bechor. What else are you going to do with it? A bechor is a bechor is a bechor.
His daughter, his own daughter.
So Rabbi Yirmiyah's question is a fascinating one. V'lo chal Ma'aser Sheni ali murav v'lo nimtza mavricho min ha'achila. Hey, Ma'aser Sheni, when you buy an animal, when you buy an animal with Ma'aser Sheni, what must you do the entire animal? Eat it. If that animal, a son, is made a bechor, then part of that animal will not be consumed. Because where's part of that animal going? To the Mizbeach. Kohen it can go to. That's as well. He can eat it as Ma'aser Sheni too. But part of it is going to the Mizbeach. So that's a problem. You can fulfill the requirement of Ma'aser Sheni with that part which is going to the Mizbeach. It's an amazing concept. It was the fact that it's going La Hashem, so to speak, is an impediment on you eat is contradiction to the necessity of you eating it. Is that clear? Do you understand the question which he's asking?
In other words, his daughter from the wife and the other husband.
Yeah, question could Rabbi Yehuda.
I don't understand.
Wife.
Why?
Because we're saying part of
The wife says, support my daughter.
It means at the time of the
No, maybe this impedes the chiyuv of bechor.
She gets from
the animal gives birth.
Yeah.
his own daughter gets from an echorin.
The animal
The question is by his daughter
As a separate
if she
stage
had
than the mother.
star.
It's only when
but it's born from a Ma'aser Sheni mother.
It's right. She doesn't have a star.
Why?
It's his daughter.
it makes no difference because
Her daughter does get it.
it's more, it assumes its own status, and therefore,
Her daughter.
How do you know?
Her
Just
daughter.
from logic, it just
Why?
She's about
Logical
soul.
the other way too.
no.
She gets
Actually,
from
the kedusha Ma'aser Sheni.
Wait a minute. The son of a korban is a korban, right?
Is it
Yeah,
automatically?
automatically.
It's not considered it says.
So son of Ma'aser Sheni should be Ma'aser Sheni.
It says when you give out the Yisomim, they get
Four and a korban.
the daughter.
Just
You give out to the daughter Mizonos. Mizonos comes from an echorin.
I have to think quiet. I don't want to.
Okay, the Gemara is going to give a great answer. I don't know if it's an answer, but the Gemara is going to give a great retort. Says the Gemara, Wait a minute. Well, first let's go through the question again. Rabbi Yirmiyah boy come Rabbi Zir Liol the Bechor, if he gives birth to Bechor, Imur Ma'ashikam is back, he give the Murim on the Mizbeach, Ma'ashikam, the Murim. Parsh go to Hashem, because they put it on the Mizbeach, Velocha Ma'aser Sheni Ali Mulav. Is the Ma'aser Sheni also relevant to the part supposed to go to the Mizbeach? Velonim Tzamav Richo Mina Achila. And you're now depriving individuals of eating and fulfilling Ma'aser Sheni. Amar Leis Rabbi Zira gave a fascinating retort. He said, V'chia lokech, this obvious typo, the Gra changed it. V'chia lokech basar l'shbeima l'shlomim. Should be l'shlomim, not l'basar taiva. Lo chal Ma'aser Sheni al mi yirumoreh v'lo nimtza avricha min achila. Hey, if you do what you're supposed to do with Ma'aser Sheni, ask Rabbi Zira to Rabbi Yirmiyah, what are you going to buy? Shlomim. What happens to you by Shlomim? Part of it goes to Mizbeach too. So why doesn't that bother you? When you do what you're supposed to do with Ma'aser Sheni, this part which goes to Mizbeach and is denied, is mufrach, is kept away from being eaten. So why does that not bother you, Rabbi Yirmiyah? So it says, I'll tell you why it doesn't bother me. On my late, it says, it's amazing. Yeah, that's great. It says, when you buy Shlomim, this is an amazing concept. Okay, I know, you think they're making it up as they're going along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mitch has been giving to me.
It says, there's a difference if you buy an animal as basar taiva, as eating meat with Ma'aser Sheni, or if you buy Shlomim with Ma'aser Sheni. If you buy regular meat with Ma'aser Sheni, then it retains the status of Ma'aser Sheni. It's anything you buy with Ma'aser Sheni, it retains the status of money, retains the status of Ma'aser Sheni, and it must be completely consumed, eaten. But if you buy Shlomim with Ma'aser Sheni, because the Torah says to you, take Ma'aser Sheni Yerushalmi and buy Shlomim with it, the moment it becomes Shlomim, what happens to the Ma'aser Sheni money? Poof! It disappears, it falls off. And that's why you can sacrifice the murim of Shlomim, which are bought directly with Ma'aser Sheni money. But Rabbi Yirmiyah asks, what about the Bechor of a mother, which is bought with Ma'aser Sheni money, which was not intended to be Shlomim, right? That there you should have a problem with the sons, Imurim, in that they came from Ma'aser Sheni, yet they're not going to be eaten. This is a brilliant distinction.
And that's why she gets from the
I think the same thing could be said about a birth.
Okay. You could, but the Gemara doesn't say that. Okay? Says of Rav Yosef, it said, Vanan lo minan ke. We wouldn't say any of this. Rather, like he said, what we said in the top, what did the Torah allow you to buy with the money? Only Shlomim. So he's referring to the Gemara, previous Gemara, which held that you try to buy any animal with Ma'aser Sheni money other than Shlomim, it doesn't work. The transaction is null and void. Okay? Going further. Ma nafka mi beineon. What's the difference between the two opinions of Rameh and Rabbi Yehuda? It's obvious differences, but we're going to go into another difference. That's really what it means. Okay, Ma'aser Mahov, it's different between Ma'aser Sheni, Ma'am Gavon, Ma'am Nehetiyon. It belongs to Hashem. But here we're going to another difference. Yoda. Now here there are a couple of different ways of learning this. The Rash Siraleo takes out the word Bechor. Just takes out the next word Bechor. Yoda Vikdisha Shlomim. The animal you bought gives birth, and you are makdish the child as Shlomim. Okay? So, Madamar Loitira Tarlikach, because of Ma'aser, oh, you know what? We're not going to Rabbi Yehuda here. I think that's the way. See, there are two different ways of learning it, two or more, I should say. So I got confused here between the Ridvaz and Reb Chaim Kanievsky's interpretations. I don't like Reb Chaim Kanievsky, who takes out the word Bechor, as I said. So he says the Rash Siraleo says. So he says this is the. Let's do it again for the Manaf Meir. What's the difference between the opinions of whether you can buy a regular animal with the Ma'aser Sheni money or not? Yoda Bechor Vikdisha Shlomim. You bought a regular animal, and you gave birth, and you made the child a shlomim. Okay? The opinion which holds that there's no such thing as acquiring an animal with kesef meiser unless it's going to be shlomim, el shlomim bilvad, right? There's no such thing other than acquiring shlomim. Kreva, you can sacrifice this. You can sacrifice the child, because in this case I say, I forgot. It's spent so much time trying to figure this out to say no, I forgot. 1 second.
The holding and no knowledge. No knowledge.
Wait a second, maybe I should have like 3,000 because I forgot what Reb Kleinkowski says after all. 1 second. Let's see it inside the Rebaz. It'll make it clear. It'll save time. Let's start from Rabbi Yossi, which is, if you look in the Gilyon HaShas V'Tzin Yerushalayim on the side, on the right hand side, right opposite the first line in the small print. Okay, Al-Zeh Amar Rabbi Yossi. Is he Al-Zeh Amar Rabbi Yossi? Al-Zeh Amar Rabbi Yossi, Vana Lo Avina Min Kain. They said we didn't used to say this. El Lo Yitira Torah not permit Likach B'Kesef Meiser to acquire with Ma'aser Sheni money. El Shlomim Bilvad, only Shlomim. V'Nimtza the Gzeres HaKosav the Makri V'Murav Shel Ma'aser Sheni Gal Mizbeach B'Dusha Shlomim. And of course, since you can only buy Shlomim with Ma'aser Sheni money, so of course you can sacrifice the Murim. That is the definition of what you do with Ma'aser Sheni money. By Shlomim. Umasik Vazil, and now the Gemara continues on to, and Mefarish explains, what do you mean to say? The Torah said you can only acquire Shlomim. Mefarish Vazil, and he goes on to explain. The Nafik Mi Be'on, the difference is like this. Yolda Bechor, if you gave birth to a Bechor, or Vikdish Shlomim, Makdish Shlomim. Perush, meaning, Shalokach lebasar taiv, you bought an animal for your own personal consumption. V'yolda with Ma'aser Sheni money. V'yolda b'chor, and this animal you bought for personal consumption gave birth to a b'chor. Or the animal itself that you bought, hikdisha batzla shlomim, you made it shlomim. After you bought it with Ma'aser Sheni money, intending to fress. Then he decided to make it shlomim afterwards. He became an altruist all of a sudden. Okay? I'll leave it to Rabbi Yehuda Diochalaktish mi Ma'aser l'shlomim moment hedyot you. According to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that you can be makdish from Ma'aser Sheni to shlomim because it's money of a hedyot. No, it's your money. You can do with it as you please, right? And you can take even that which you already bought and make it hekdesh. L'manda ma'da also lavriyechi mura mina achila. According to the opinion which holds that you're not allowed to deprive yourself of eating the murim. So rak b'lokech behema l'shlomim l'chatchila b'lokichasa. It's only when you acquire the animal to shlomim already, when you bought it to begin with, pakum yimenu kedusha's meiser, does the kedusha meiser fall off? Okay, and therefore hacha kshekana lebasar taiva, when you bought it for your own desires, v'ikdisha ba'atzmo shlomim, you consecrate yourself then afterwards to shlomim, achakal subsequently ain't no craving. You're not allowed to sacrifice it. Why? Because what are you depriving yourself of consumption now? The murim. So according to the opinion now, according to you bought it for basar taiva. Then afterwards, you either consecrated it personally or made it a bechor, or gave birth to a bechor. So in that case, we say it can't be sacrificed. Why can't it be sacrificed? Because at the moment you bought it, it had not become a shlomim. Since it didn't become a shlomim then, so the entire animal was under the category of consumption. To make it now shlomim, or for its son to become a Bechor is going to deprive you of the consumption of the Murim. And according to this opinion, the only time you're allowed to dispense with personal consumption of the Murim is when, at the point where you bought the animal, you bought it as Shlamim. Because that's a special Xeris Akosiv. You can buy Shlamim at that time. But to later on make it Shlamim, that's no good. Is this clear? Yeah, Mr. Zuger, you understand what's fine? Okay, in other words, you have to, in order to be able to say, I'll give part of it to Hashem as parts of the Mizbeach, it's got to be at the point the purchase made a Shlamim. Later on, you can't make a Shlamim, because if at the point the purchase was determined that all of it must be consumed, so later on make it a Korban, or later on that it should give birth to a Bechor, that's still good. Because then that part which is originally designed for consumption, now you're trying to deprive yourself of consuming and make it Korban. No good. Doesn't go.
That's only the Man Diomer that says that you can buy it as a plain, as a Basar Taiva.
Right. We're all going that Man Diomer now. Right. That was what I got me confused before. Right. We're going to the opinion now that you can buy this Basar Taiva. Okay? That sale does go through. Okay? So it says the Gemara, and it says the Ridbaz further. Umandamar in the first wide line in Ridbaz. Umandamar loitia tolikach begets in Ma'aser Shlam bilvad. The people chose that you're not allowed to buy except for Shlamim. Right? That's the other opinion. Right? The Losfile de Bilkichasa Paka Kedushas Ma'aser. He holds that if you buy, if you whenever you buy an animal, it doesn't automatically take off the kedusha of meiser. The king Xeris Hakosavu. Rather, the Xeris Hakosav is that you have to get shlamim. Even if originally you bought it as basar taiva, and only afterwards you made it shlamim, shapir makavil and moral is back. Of course, now you finally did it the right way. In other words, where you have the right to make it basar taiva, so later on you can't make it shlamim. According to the opinion which holds you can buy Basar Taiva with Ma'aser Sheni money, later on you can't make a Shlamim, because you already designated the entire thing for consumption, and now you can't change it. But according to the second opinion which holds you're not allowed to buy Basar Taiva with Ma'aser Sheni money, so if you did buy Basar Taiva Ma'aser Sheni money, that transaction is, so to speak, in limbo. And when you do make it Shlamim later on, we say, hey, Yashir Koya, finally you got around the way you're supposed to be doing. So of course then the Murim are Karev L'Gam in Mizbeach. Okay?
Is there a question about Ma'aser Sheni money being
according to that Man Domer.
Yeah, so
According to Manoar, it must be Shlamim.
how could what does it do with the Kezeris?
What does your Man Domer do with it? I know, because we didn't learn what the Xeris Kosav is.
Yeah, that's
I don't know yet. Yeah, it doesn't say. I don't know yet. So I should have looked at the pasuk, but I didn't look it up. Let's see it inside again. Man afik mi beneon. What's the difference between the opinions? Yoda bechor.
So she's better.
Just find the place again. It's 3, 6, 9, 12 lines to the bottom. Man afik mi beneon. What's the difference? Yoda bechor b'kdish shlamim. If you bought an animal as basar taifa, and then it gave birth to bechor, or you decide to make that animal shlamim itself. Madamar loitia torlikach b'kesem meiser ela shlamim bilvad. According to the opinion which holds, I don't know, the Ridbaz reverse the Shitas from the way they appear in the Gemara. The opinion which holds, maybe because he changed the Girsa. The opinion which holds that the Torah was only matzah to take b'kesem meiser shlamim. So Kreva, he says, it's about time you got around to it, right? You can sacrifice it. This is where the Ridbaz changes. The second opinion says this Mandamro holds that you're allowed to buy basar taiva with it, right? Which is not really the same opinion as Blichasa Pakal Menukdushas Meiser, because it's not. He's changing the girsa on this line, where he's saying the Mandamro says you're allowed to buy basar taiva with it, ain't a kreva. So he says once you bought basar taiva, later on you can't cause it to revert to shlamim or revert to bechor, because by that time its status is already fixed. I'm Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said, Kolilain Milaya Onan Morin. All these words we are saying, Umelsnisa Messiah Rabbi Zira. And we don't realize that the Bryce is a riot to Rabbi Zira. What's a Bryce a riot to Rabbi Zira? That the Kedusha of Ma'aser Sheni falls off automatically whenever you buy the animal for a korban. Where do we see that? The Brisa said the Brisa said actually it's a Mishnah in Menachos. Mishnah says Lo Yavi Michitin Ma'aser Sheni. You can't bring a korban toida from the wheat of Ma'aser Sheni. How many loaves come with a korban toida, Mr. Zuger? How many loaves of bread come with a korban toida?
Well, where did he get it from? Where did he get it from?
14.
No, but it has a 4 in it.
Oh, 40.
40, right. 40. How many go to the Kohen from those 40?
Yeah.
No. No.
How did he come to that?
Okay.
What possessed him to make such a
No.
doesn't make sense.
4.
Statement doesn't make sense. Should be the-
How many types of bread are there
He poured more for his own daughter.
in the 40?
My question, big me up.
4 types. 3 matzah and 1 chametz.
Is this logical?
The Kohen gets 1 of each type.
My
Okay.
question, what's the reason?
Goes with not knowing the word Cooper. Okay.
It's been here for years since we learned.
So you can bring the bread of the korban toida in the Beis Hamikdash from not from wheat of Ma'aser Sheni, but from money of Ma'aser Sheni. Ma bin chitin, ma bin mos. What's the difference between the chitin and the mos? Between whether you bring wheat or you bring the money. When you buy the wheat, the wheat itself is Ma'aser Sheni wheat, and therefore you can't bring the wheat itself as a korban toida. Doesn't work. Mura's going to ask why, but in any event, the wheat itself can't be ordered as a korban toida because it's Ma'aser Sheni wheat. But the money of Ma'aser Sheni says it can be used to purchase korban toida. Why? Because the moment you purchase the grain, the kedusha of Ma'aser Sheni falls off. This is a very interesting thing which we're learning here. We're learning that Rabbi Z. The question is, I guess we didn't make it clear in the study before, but there's a understood secondary issue which follows the entire discussion before, which is what happens when you buy an animal with it? When you buy Basar Taiva with it? When you buy Basar Taiva, is that whatever you buy get the status of Ma'aser Sheni? Or do I say, no, Ma'aser Sheni is gone. It left. Now, whatever I buy is a new thing. I was Mekayim the mitzvah buying with Ma'aser Sheni. And now whatever I get has a different status. So it sounds here that talk is the case. Because it says here you can use money of Ma'aser Sheni to buy the grain for these karbanos of korban toida. El b'kichasa pakim and kedushas Ma'aser. Rabbi China Kumi Rabbi Mana. So Rabbi China has a for Mana. V'yavi minachitin truma l'kohen v'ashar l'bailim. Why not bring from the grain itself? What's the problem? Bring from the grain of Ma'aser Sheni itself. The truma of the kohen, that's his 4 loaves. The shar l'bailim, the other 36 loaves. B'vnei ma'ino maybe. Why can't you bring it? What's the problem? So Amalei gives a very interesting answer. He says, imagine to yourself. Shenishbach Adam. What happens if the blood of the korban is spilled? Because Toda, obviously, the 40 loaves come together with korban. What's the korban?
This woman had to make a special stipulation.
Sheep, right. So what happens if the sheep is shechted and the blood becomes a beagle? So in that case, what happens to the loaves?
It's not based in Mahani Lakinyan.
What? They're no good, right? You can't eat the loaves. So therefore you can't use Ma'aser Sheni wheat in order to Ma'aser Sheni wheat as the loaves, because then you are running the risk that they're not going to be edible. And you're not allowed to deprive Ma'aser Sheni of its edibility. So it's interesting. The money we don't care about. Because the money, once it's used to buy the grain, this is Rabbi Zira's Svara, that's it. You are fulfilling the necessity of what you're supposed to do with the Ma'aser Sheni. That you're already. But if you're using the Ma'aser Sheni grain itself, which is not purchased, but rather has been Ma'aser Sheni from the get-go, so now to use that is a danger, because then it might become possible, and the Ma'aser Sheni itself, we cannot allow to become possible, must become eaten. Okay? Says more further. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan said, Gazel on the cave of Balas Mum. They made a decree on a keva, which is a Balas Mum. Now, what do we mean by that? The cave of Balas Mum is you have an animal which you bought as Ma'aser Sheni with Ma'aser Sheni funds, and this animal you bought with Ma'aser Sheni funds was in a cave of Balas Mum. It can't be a korban. I see it as a mum. It's in a cave. They asked you can't buy it. Why not? Not because it nevlada, because it might give birth. And it gives birth, right? So the question is what the status is. So it's not clear exactly. It's not clear exactly what the problem is that it's going to have a kid. I think the problem is Bechor. 1 second.
Since they're B'tnai Bezdin, in other words,
no, so this is what he means. He means like this. Goes on the cave of Baal Smum, Nevlada. They were goes on the cave of Baal Smum because its kid, not to buy the cave of Baal Smum because in the cave of Baal Smum is going to have a kid, and the kid should be sacrificed, right? But people are not going to sacrifice the kid because the mother was a Baal Smum. In other words, if you bought an animal in a cave which was not a Baal Smum, and then it had a child, so it's a shlamim. Its child is a shlamim. The mizbeach gets 2 shlamim, right? This way, if you buy the cave of Baal Mum, you can eat as basar taiva. But besides that, there's another problem, which is that the kid is not going to be shlamim. So the mizbeach is going to lose out. So we say, don't buy in the cave of Baal Mum. Buy in the cave who is a sholim. And if a tamim, and if it's a tamim, it and its vlada will become korbanos. Okay? It's a funny lashon, but that's what he means to say. Besides that, then they made a gzera l'gzera. Because of zocher balmum, they said, don't even take a zocher as a balmum. Bivnei in a cave of balas mum, because you might come to take in a cave as a balas mum. And then you deprive them his bech. Vam Yerushalmi Rabbi Yochanan, they send them Rabbi Yochanan. Afilu t'mima gzera. They made a gzera. Not even to buy a tamima, not even to buy a whole animal, unless you buy it as a korban. Meaning, although basar taiva is theoretically mutter, we don't allow you to buy basar taiva. You can't even buy a whole animal as basar taiva. You have to buy specifically an animal to be a shlami with Ma'aser Sheni. And that's what they said. This is a parallel concept. But when they originally say, "Lokim beim lebasar taiva," you can buy with Ma'aser Sheni money. You can buy taka basar taiva. It's okay. It's not a problem. But what happened? Jews are Jews. They would not buy any korbanos because they want to have good steaks, right? So therefore, because they said, you know what? Not only can you not buy basar taiva, you can't even buy deer, even chickens. You always have to buy meat for shlamim with your Ma'aser Sheni money Yerushalayim. Okay? According to Tani, like that which you learned in a brisa, echad shvis ve'echad Ma'aser Sheni. Both shmita and Ma'aser Sheni. You have money which has kedusha shvis. Use it to buy. You sold shmita fruit. You got money, so the fruit has shmita kedusha. The money has kedusha shmita, has the kedusha of the 7th year, or money which is Ma'aser Sheni. So on the kevas Baal Mum, originally you're allowed to use that money to buy a female is a Baal Mum, and any other type of animal, or which is a behema or a chaya or a bird, bein chaim and shchutim, whether they're dead or alive. Divrei Rabbi Meir. They only allowed you to buy shchutim. Now this is a very interesting thing. Until now we haven't differentiated between dead or alive. Now the Gemara is saying, you know what? Live animals they only let you buy shlamim. But dead animals you can go to a butcher store and buy any cut you want. Because buying from a butcher store, it seems from the Gemara, is akin to going and buying mushrooms, eggplants, right? You don't have to buy korban material. We said if you're going to buy an animal, buy a korban animal. But if you buy a steak pre-slaughtered, so that's okay. Is that clear what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's... So people are always going to want to do that. If they really
No, it's because in the old days it didn't have that way, because this may come as a shock to you, but they didn't have refrigeration back then. So mostly they would buy live animals, livestock.
They didn't have those animals hanging from on the shore.
They didn't have Arabs in Yerushalayim back then. So in any event,
Those are the days.
yeah. So therefore, it's probably was not prevalent to buy cut meat. Okay, so that's why you had this you had this permissibility to buy shechted stuff. Rabbi Shmuel Bar Yitzchak said, Gazu said, he said a different reason why you're not allowed to buy live animals, which are not going to be korbanos. You know why? Because instead of eating them, what are you going to do then? You're going to start growing flocks and herds of animals of Ma'aser Sheni. Says more, come Rabbi Yirmiyah im Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Yirmiyah met up with Rabbi Zira. Amalei, so he said, Rabbi Yirmiyah said to Rabbi Zira, Ad Kedur Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak Kayim. Rabbi Shmuel Yitzchak is still alive. Vatun Kayim Bei Martuv Tuvin. And you're dangling on him, Martuv Tuvin, I think, are rags. In other words, you're saying distortions in his name. Yeah. In other words, normally what people attribute to dead people, Sir Moshe, to Chazanish, to Shlomo Zalman, all sorts of weird things, right? In order to get it accepted. But to take a live person and attribute to him a weird thing, that's utterly brazen and preposterous, right? So Rav Shur Yitzchak is alive, and you're saying weird things in his name, right? Well, in other words, you said in his name that the reason why you shouldn't take by Basar Taiva is because you're going to grow flocks and herds from it. There can't be. I feel to me, they say Rabbi Yochanan, even a live animal without blemish, there's a gzeira not to take. Why is that? Because we don't want you to take anything away from the mizbeach. So it's not a question of you're going to grow flocks and herds, but rather a question of we want you to give it to the mizbeach, right? The reason we already gave several times over, that we want you to bring the Ma'aser Sheni in the proper form, which is as a korban. So what are you making up new svaras for? Adorim, they're going to grow flocks. This is unheard of. Maybe without what you heard Rav Shur Yitzchak saying, is that the reason why we don't let you buy animals other than korbanos is because you're going to grow flocks and herds is by Shemitah animals. Because by Shemitah, there's no imperative to bring in a shlomim, right? So what is the only reason not to buy live animals with it? Lest you come to buy it to grow flocks and herds, all of which will have Kedusha Shvius on them. So maybe that's where you heard that the reason is that you shouldn't come to buy to grow flocks and herds. Ashkachtani ala Shvius. So you find a brisa which said that on Shemitah the reason why we don't let you buy live animals is because you might come to grow herds of them. But by Ma'aser Sheni, the reason is we only want you to buy korbanos, not to buy any bus or type of any sort whatsoever. Okay? Halacha Gimel. Halokeach mayim umelach. Ubei mayim umelach uperos ambuchuborim. You take water, buy water or salt, or peros ambuchuborim l'karka, fruit which is still connected to the ground, or peros she'enam yicholim lagi Yerushalayim, or fruit outside Yerushalayim, which will rot before it reaches Yerushalayim, lo kana ma'aser. It's not a valid opinion because there are reasons for all these things that you can't buy Ma'aser Sheni with them. That's an amazing Rambam on this. I saw the Teraz Roim. Teraz Roim was Rabari Pomeranchik. He's a student of the Brisk Rav. He died very young. He died at the age of 34. Brilliant man who wrote two svarim which are very well known in the yeshiva world, Teraz Roim and Emek Bracha. So the Teraz Roim says that the Rambam, he brings down that the Rambam says that although you're not supposed to buy this stuff, these type of commodities, Ma'aser Sheni, if you did it, so your Ma'aser Sheni was Yaitzel Chol, Paka Kedushas Ma'aser. So it's a kasha. It's almost explicit contradiction for our Mishnah. Our Mishnah says Lo Kana Ma'aser. So he wanted to say the two dinim. There are two din in buying with Meiser. One din is to get rid of the Ma'aser Sheni status of the money. The other din is to fulfill the mitzvah of eating Ma'aser Sheni. So what does it mean, lo kana Ma'aser? You did what? You took the kedusha off the money. The money for no, but that's what the Rambam says. Lo kana Ma'aser means you didn't acquire them as Ma'aser. They don't get the status of Ma'aser Sheni, but your money loses its kedusha. So the Rambam actually holds there are two separate steps according to this. One is to get the kedusha off the money, which is what Rabbi Zero said in the previous Gemara, right? Which we proved from the case where you buy toida grain with the Ma'aser Sheni money, so that when you make the transaction, the kedusha falls off the Ma'aser Sheni money. That happens when you buy the salt in the water or whatever else you might buy. But what you don't get is the mitzvah of eating Ma'aser Sheni with a commodity which is in lieu of the original Ma'aser Sheni which you had redeemed. That you do not get. Okay, so lo kara Ma'aser, it doesn't acquire Ma'aser, but the money, the kedusha of the money falls off. That's how the Rambam interprets it. Okay, halokech peros shogeg. What if you did this unintentionally? Yasu domim. This last thing, you bought pears which can't reach Yerushalmi, right? So you did it unintentionally. Yasu domim, so the sale is null and void. You start over again, right? Mazid. Oh wait, what pears are talking about here?
That's not the point. The point is that they base it on.
No, this is regular fruit. It's regular fruit. I'm sorry. Unintentionally, you brought fruit outside Yerushalmi. You didn't take the money up to Yerushalmi. You bought fruit. So shogeg, if you didn't realize that it was that what you were doing, you're allowed to cancel transaction, take the money back, and take the money up to Yerushalmi. If you did it mazid, so then we make you go through the tircha yalu v'yochel b'makom of taking that fruit up to Yerushalmi. In other words, if you intentionally took it up, that's it. You have to take the fruit up to Yerushalmi. Am I making myself clear? I'm probably not making myself clear. You wanted to take. Obviously, the Torah gave was a special clue. The Torah gave you instead of taking fruit to Yerushalmi, take money up to Yerushalmi. Okay. Now, what happens if you bought instead of taking the money, you bought fruit outside of Yerushalmi with the money. You bought fruit. So now the Gemara says
you didn't know that this was
right. You didn't know this kula which the Torah gave you, right? So now the Gemara says if you didn't know it was shoygay, you didn't know take. So we do you a favor, let you cancel transaction, take back your money, take it to Yerushalmi and buy the fruit there. If you knew though, and for some reason, because some cockamamie evil reason, you nonetheless bought this fruit outside Yerushalmi with the money, so we sock it to you, and you got to actually carry the fruit up to Yerushalmi and eat it there. And if there is no base in Mikdash Yirkova, they got to rot. Okay? Similarly, Alukech Be'ema Shoygei. Somebody buys an animal outside Yerushalmi unintentionally, right? Didn't know they should wait to Yerushalmi to buy the animal. Yachsut Amelim Koimos. So the money goes back. Okay, he can cancel the sale. Mazid, if you did it intentionally, Tala, you have to take the animal itself up to Yerushalmi, Tocha b'makom in Yerushalmi, v'mikdash, and if you don't have a base on mikdash, tikov here, you have to wait till it dies, because you can't shecht it outside Yerushalmi, and you have to bury it ayidei oira together with its hide. Actually, I think you probably can kill it. It's just that you can't shecht it. It's not korban, so you can kill it, but you can't eat it. Because there's no Yerushalmi in which to eat it. Ein lochim, and you cannot buy avodim, slaves, a karkos, real estate, ve'emetzmeya, and impure animals, midmei Ma'aser Sheni. If you did, and you can't get your money back, wherever the value was, you have to eat corresponding fruit in Yerushalmi as Ma'aser Sheni. You can only bring shlamim for Ma'aser Sheni money. You cannot bring the birds which a zav brings, or the birds which a zava brings, because those the birds which a woman gives birth brings. If you use Ma'aser Sheni money for that purpose, you have to take that value and eat fruit to Yerushalmi as Ma'aser Sheni as a result. This is the general principle. All you can do with Ma'aser Sheni, you can only buy stuff to eat, to drink, or to anoint his oils. If it's not one of those three things, use Ma'aser Sheni for that purpose, you have to take that value and eat fruit to Yerushalmi corresponding to that value. Tamatina. Now here the Gra changes the girsa. First, before the Tamon, he says, Tani. It says in our Mishnah, Behemoth Meah, Ben Shoyu Ben Mezid Yachsu Doim. It's not in our Mishnah. It says elsewhere. Behemoth Meah, Ben Shoyu Ben Mezid Yachsu Doim L'Koimon. If you bought a Behemoth Meah with the money, then the money goes back. Right? Cancel the deal. Take the money back. Go to Yerushalmi with the money. Yet here, Tamon Tzninan, but here by us. Although it says Tamon, what it really means is by us. Tamon Tzninan, it says over there in our Mishnah, Ein Lochin Avoni Karkos Beimot Mei Shvius, V'im Yokach Yoichol Kenegdon. Doesn't say that the deal is canceled. It says take the value which you spent on Beimot Mei and use that corresponding value in order to buy Ma'aser Sheni type food in Yerushalayim. Here you say differently, so it's a contradiction. In the one place it says elsewhere, and whenever Bryce we just quoted, which the Gra brings down, that the deal is canceled. Everything reverts back to square one. Here we say that the deal is not canceled, the deal went through, yet you take the value and go into Yerushalayim. How do you reconcile the two? So Rabbi Yonah said, Ispalgun Rabbi Chia bar Yosef v'Shmuel. It's Machlokes Rabbi Chia bar Yosef and Shmuel. Chadamar once said, how do we reconcile the two? Kan derech mechira, kan derech chilu. It depends if you did it as a redemption or you did it as a acquisition. So the Gra says, if you look in the Ridbaz, he says, Perish b'shnos Eliozal, that's the Gra, derech mekach, if you bought a behemoth meah with the Ma'aser Sheni money, yocha kenegdon, then you eat. So then the purchase was a valid purchase. So therefore, what you just do is you take that value, eat a corresponding value shalayim. V'derachilu, however, if you're redeeming the Ma'aser Sheni money, you didn't buy from somebody a behemoth meah, but you, so to speak, redeem the Ma'aser Sheni money on a pig or a donkey in your possession, yachsu domin l'koimam. That doesn't work. Because as a redemption, the whole thing is null and void. Only as a sale has its validity, and then you take something in lieu of that and eat in Yerushalayim. That's how the Gra interprets it. The Chorno Amar, and the other one says, we're on the right plot. Depends. If the seller's still around, go back and get your money. If the seller's not around, so yocha kenegdon. So you have to substitute other funds. I don't know who said which answer. That it's a valid sale. He's the one that distinguishes between where it's a sale and where it's redemption. That sales stand, redemptions fall.